afternoon on Green 960, the Clear Channel Progressive Talk AM radio station in San Francisco. Once again, a big round of applause for Bob.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, how many people here are vegan? How many? All right. Well, so I am surrounded by heroes today, so that's great. Would anybody admit to not being vegan by a show of hands? Or okay, so we do have pre-vegans in the audience with us today too. So, it's really strange to me because I never would have imagined growing up as a normal kid that I would host the first vegan radio show ever. I never imagined being a vegan or calling myself a vegetarian. When I was 16 years old, I won a hamburger eating contest in New York and ate 30 White Castle hamburgers. So I just feel lucky to be alive today, to survive that experience. And then at age 19, when I was going to Queens College in New York and I was cooking on my own, I was cooking one night and looked down at the pan, and for some reason, it didn't seem like it was food in the pan. It wasn't a round, nondescript food item. It was somebody's body. I saw, there was enough of the chicken there for me to see that it was somebody's body, and I looked down and thought, well, I'm responsible for somebody dying. I'm responsible for suffering, even though I've been told that it's the animal's purpose to be here, to be eaten, and the foster farm, who wouldn't want to be a foster farm chicken, or, I'd like to be an Oscar Mayer wiener, so, but they really wouldn't, I just saw the suffering, the pain there. And so I decided I couldn't eat meat anymore. I was the first vegetarian I ever knew. I was actually engaged to a butcher's daughter at the time, and my future ex-mother-in-law was yelling at me, you're gonna die if you eat like that, are you crazy? And of course she's right, I probably will die, but apparently a lot further into the future than if I continued eating my father-in-law's or ex-father-in-law's products, So, but my excuse, I think, was growing up in New York. I had no connection to how my food originated. As far as I was concerned, salami grew on a salami tree. Peas came in a can, So, what did I know? So I thought, okay, well, I can't eat animals anymore. But I guess I can drink milk, I can eat eggs, nobody gets hurt from that, right? Until I ran across literature from an animal organization once, and it was, well, I made this decision for compassion, and recognizing that the extreme cruelty, like if you're into it for compassion, you give up the dairy and eggs first. That's what the great vegan Cesar Chavez said, as he observed, when it really comes to the cruelty, it's the cow's milk and eggs that have to go first. So I became vegan 27 years ago, and worked in the corporate world of radio, and people when the party platters were at the radio station, and I'd come around the corner and somebody'd have a piece of salami, and they'd see me, it was like, oh, guilt, and they'd run away, and there were also conflicts. I got fired because a radio station wanted to run fur advertising, and I couldn't put my efforts into putting on programming that was supported by such cruelty. So I became an animal rights activist out there, and I started a vegan festival in 2001 called World Fest in Los Angeles, and I went around to different radio stations promoting World Fest. And a producer at one of the stations said, well, you have a background in broadcasting and animal rights. Well, shouldn't you be doing a vegan radio show? And I was like, well, of course. I thought maybe something in video where I could hold up, cow's milk bad, soy milk good. But I thought, okay, well, this is access to the media, because I want to reach people who don't want to hear anything about being vegan, don't know anything about it. I want to be in mainstream media. And so she said, well, we have an opening on air, you have to pay for it, so go look for some advertising. and I found advertising within 2 weeks, and suddenly, you know, the show was on the air now. It's 10 years ago. I expected the show to last maybe 2 weeks on the air after the owners of the station and management heard the content, and would think, like, we can't have this on the air. He's insulting all of our other advertisers, all the restaurants and pharmaceuticals, and but you know, management and ownership haven't listened yet. So we're on 10 years. There was the 10 years on the air on Air America for a year. So it's the first vegan radio program in mainstream media and the first major network. We were on 26 radio stations at one time. And this is on, you know, these are regular talk stations, so there'll be a show on about Obama or Afghanistan or whatever, and then on comes a vegan radio show, which is great for me, because normally I take my megaphone out to places and protest all sorts of things, and people say, oh, get a life, you know, get a job, get, you know. But on the radio, I say the exact same thing, and they say, wow, did you hear what the guy on the radio said? Well, meat and dairy cause global warming more than anything else. Well, it is true. I mean, meat and dairy production cause 51% of all greenhouse gas emissions, so meat and dairy are the cause of global warming. But I have come to believe over these years that meat and dairy, fish and eggs, are the most destructive of all forces on the planet, and the most negative, and in many ways the most evil. And I now have a sense of urgency related to the environment, where we are running out of time. We have rampant climate change, and it is caused by meat and dairy. And in particular, methane, which is from cows, which is 70 times worse than carbon. So, you know, I think we're spending a lot of effort in areas that aren't as productive as we need to be. So what I'm asking people to do now is consider that our most important actions have to be related to vegan animal liberation activism. We can't promote humane meat, happy meat, cage-free, organic, none of those things. Well, all of those are full of cruelty anyway, and I have to say, you know, as much as I adore all the people who were supporting Prop 2 and all the hard work that they did, I wasn't a supporter of Prop 2 because of the slogan, Stop Animal Cruelty, and because the corporation that initiated Prop 2 told the signature gatherers, 700,000 signature gatherers, not to mention anything about being vegan. Well, the only way to stop cruelty is to be vegan. All of the chickens, if there ever is a Prop 2, you know, going into effect, and, you know, the chickens get their 12 inches by 12 inches instead of 8.5 inches by 11 inches, all the males are still drowned alive in the first day of their lives. All the females are mutilated, they have their faces cut off, and they're all killed. If they aren't cage-free, they might be in a shed with tens of thousands of other birds crammed in there. So nobody gets out alive, and I think the problem is, and I'm seeing in terms of the animal rights movement, people think that it's too hard to get people to go vegan. They don't want to mention it to them. They're shy. You know, well, who are we to deprive people of the information that will save their families' lives? It's our obligation as vegans to convert everybody to be vegan. And you know, this is the information. If people get it, their kids don't have to be, you know, I mean, right now, meat and dairy, fish and eggs condemn their children to premature death. So all of the diseases, heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, osteoporosis, obesity, are all caused by meat and dairy consumption. So there's your health plan for the nation right there. Everybody goes vegan, and you know, we don't need all the pharmaceuticals, and we, you know, all the pharmaceuticals, I mean, all of this animal testing going on to find the cures for meat and dairy consumption, fish and egg consumption. That's what's going on with the torture of all the animals right now, you know. I spoke at Occupation San Francisco, and I did say that, you know, the 99% has to include the animals. Really, We're not 99%. We're one species out of millions. Of course, we act like the 99%. But we have to include animals, and we have to dump the Wall Street-backed corporate diet of death, which we don't even realize is the cause of all of our problems. But right now, we all have to go vegan immediately and get everybody else to go vegan. Please, I urge you not to get involved with campaigns that promote any kind of meat, humane meat, eating less meat, whatever. The whole idea is we have to go vegan. Now, I know I'm up against the #1 advocate for animals, supposedly, the Humane Society of the United States and Wayne Pacelle, but that corporation just partnered with a group of farmers in Nebraska to market meat. That corporation has a director of rural outreach and development who's a hog farmer who kills 50,000 pigs a year. That corporation tells you, if you want to help animals, Wolfgang Puck is our hero. Well, look at Wolfgang Puck's menu. It's veal. So I really beseech you, I beg you not to be distracted by a corporation that profits from its arrangements. It's making an arrangement now with United Egg Producers, which I call furniture for chickens in 18 years. So in 18 years, the poor chickens in the cages, and this is a reversal of an HSUS policy. It was against enriched cages, now it wants cages, but the chickens can have a perch in 18 years. They'll get a perch and some sand, and please don't work for that. There's hard work to do in getting people to go vegan. Now, if you need suggestions for activism, I have a radio program that's outreach. I have to pay every week to be on the air. Right now, I can afford San Francisco. Green 960 is $400. KPOJ in Portland, $400. I have to come up with $800 every week. Okay. I need people to help with advertising and sales and donations and all of that. Great. But there are stations all around the country who want to run the show. In New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Seattle. This is the kind of outreach when we're reaching to people who aren't Googling vegan, but are getting the information in front of them that they've never heard in their lives. They don't know that meat and dairy cause global warming. The United Nations says so. Science agrees with me. But we have a crisis right now in terms of climate change, in terms of deforestation caused by meat and dairy, desertification, habitat loss, all caused by meat and dairy. I, as a vegan, require 10,000 gallons of water to grow my food in a year, and a meat eater requires 320,000 gallons of water. So 32 vegans can be fed to one meat eater. You know, an acre of land can produce 150 pounds of beef, or 20,000 pounds of potatoes. You know, if we're going to share the planet, if we're going to feed everyone, world hunger could end tomorrow. Meat and dairy cause world hunger. You know, if all the grain were diverted from animals to people, world hunger is over tomorrow. And it doesn't have to be. You know, we are feeding the poor man's bread to the rich man's cow. So, what can I tell you? So anyway, there's the vegan activism that could come from related to my radio show. You can email me, bob@goveganradio.com. There's a program that I put on stage called Soul Food for Thought, which was outreach to people of color. If you can get a megaphone and go out to McDonald's and tell parents that they're killing their children, which I, often do. You can put and I've developed a flyer that you can put on people's doorknobs. So there's that, and there's a campaign to abolish meat that's coming out of France. You can look for that website. We need to be responsible and work toward abolishing meat, actually. And, I mean, we've abolished plastic bags, so, you can't have them in grocery stores. Well, why not really, address something that's really harmful? Meat and dairy, and they should be abolished. Rape should be abolished. Murder should be abolished. Meat is murder and rape, and it's immoral. It's the greatest massacre on the planet right now. And it's up to us as vegans not to say, oh, it's too hard to make the world vegan. It's up to us to make the world vegan. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for all you do for the animals.